The modern organization dedicates extensive time, energy, and funding to a wide variety of security controls and activities. We install firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, security information and event management devices, vulnerability scanners, and many other tools. We equip and staff 24-hour security operations centers to monitor those technologies and watch our systems, networks, and applications for signs of compromise. There's more than enough work to completely fill our days twice over. So why on earth would we want to take on the additional burden of performing penetration tests? After all, they are time-consuming to perform internally and expensive to outsource. Some benefits of penetration testing, first and foremost, provides us with knowledge that we can't obtain elsewhere. By conducting thorough pen tests, we learn whether an attacker with the same knowledge, skills, and information as our testers would likely to be able to penetrate our defenses. If they can't get in, we can reasonably assume that our networks are secure against an attack by an equivalently talented attacker. And in the event that attackers are successful, penetration test provides us with an important blueprint for remediation. As cybersecurity professionals, we can trace the actions of the testers as they progress through the different stages of the attack and close the series of open doors the testers pass through. Doing so provides us with more robust defense against future attacks. And finally, penetration tests can provide us with essential, focused information about specific attack targets. We might conduct a penetration test prior to deployment of a new system that is specifically focused on exercising the security features of that new environment. Unlike an open-ended penetration test, which is broad in nature, focused tests can drill into the defense around a specific target and provide actionable insight that can prevent a vulnerability from initial. There is one last reason that you might conduct penetration tests, because you have to. The most common regulatory requirement for penetration tests comes from the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI-DSS. This regulation is a private contractual obligation that governs all organizations involved in the storage, processing, or transmission of credit and debit card transactions. Nestled among the more than 100 pages of detailed security requirements for cardholder data environments are CDEs, which implement a methodology for penetration testing that includes the industry-accepted penetration testing approaches, the coverage for the entire CDE perimeter and critical systems, testing from both inside and outside network parameters for testing to validate any segmentation and scope reduction controls, defines application layer penetration tests to include, at a minimum, the vulnerabilities listed in Requirement 6.5, defines network layer penetration tests to include components that support network functions as well as operating systems, includes review and consideration of threats and vulnerabilities experienced in the last 12 months, and specifies retention for penetration test results and remediation activity results. This provides a useful set of requirements that anyone can use conducting a penetration test. It's also a nice blueprint for penetration testing even for organizations that don't have PCI DSS compliance obligations. The standard also goes on to include 4 additional requirements to describe the frequency and scope for penetration tests. Perform internal and external penetration tests at least annually and after any significant infrastructure change or upgrade. Exploitable vulnerabilities found during penetration testing are corrected, and the testing is repeated to verify the corrections. And if a segmentation is used to isolate the CDE from other networks, perform penetration tests at least annually and after any changes to the segmentation. Who performs penetration tests? Penetration tests is a highly skilled discipline, and organizations often try to have experienced penetration testers for their testing efforts. If you don't have experience conducting penetration tests, that just means that you'll have to find somebody to mentor you for this. Penetration tests may be conducted by either internal or external teams. Tests conducted by internal teams consist of cybersecurity employees from the organization being tested. These teams may be dedicated to penetration testing on a full-time basis, or they may be convened periodically to conduct tests on a part-time basis. There are 2 major benefits of using internal teams to conduct penetration tests. First, they have contextual knowledge of the organization that can improve the effectiveness of testing by providing enhanced subject matter expertise. And second, it's generally less expensive to conduct testing using internal employees than it is to hire from a testing firm. The primary disadvantages to using your internal team come from the fact that you are using internal employees, and these individuals may have helped design and implement the security control systems that they are testing, which may introduce a bias towards demonstrating that those systems are secure. So if you do choose to use an internal penetration testing team, it is important to recognize that team members might be limited by a lack of independence. External penetration testing teams are hired for the express purpose of performing a penetration test. They may come from a general cybersecurity consulting firm or one that specializes in pen testing. These individuals are usually highly skilled at conducting tests because they perform these tests all day, every day. And when you hire a professional pen test team, you generally benefit from the use of very talented attackers. External teams also generally bring a much higher degree of independence than an internal team would. But you still need to be concerned when using an external team of any potential conflicts of interest that the testers might have. It's probably not the best idea to hire the cybersecurity consultants that help you design your security controls to perform an independent test of those controls. They may be inclined that any security flaws they find will reflect negatively on them and their environment. Penetration testing is not a one-time process. Organizations may wish to require penetration testing for new setups, but it's important to repeat these tests on a periodic basis for three reasons. First, the technology environment is constantly changing. Systems are reconfigured, patches are applied, updates and tweaks are made on a regular basis. Considered in isolation, each of these changes may have only a minor impact on the environment, but when you consider them all together, it could be a major change of the environment. And periodic penetration tests have a good chance of detecting security issues introduced by these environmental changes. Second, attack techniques are constantly evolving over time, and updated penetration tests should reflect these changes in attack techniques. A system developed and tested today may receive clean bill of health, but the exact same system tested 2, 3, 4 years from now may be vulnerable to an attack technique that simply wasn't known at that time. And finally, each team member brings a unique set of skills, talents, and experience to the table. Different team members may approach the test in different ways, and a team conducting a follow-up test differently may discover a vulnerability that went unnoticed by the initial team. To maximize your chances of discovering these issues, you should take care when you select the members of a penetration testing team. When possible, rotate team members so that you are testing system environments and applications that they have never tested before.